Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all well. I hope you have your fruit stocked up for Tu B'Shvat. It's a wonderful time, Tu B'Shvat, but it gives us now a chance to look forward. Another month to Purim, then another month to Pesach. But we'll get out of this. It'll get better. The Lord will help us. In this week's parsha, the Torah tells us about the mun. It's miraculous bread, nutrient that fell from heaven every day, encased in the dew, and that everyone had a sufficient amount to sustain them for the next 24 hours. There was nothing extra that could be stored, and there was nothing lacking. And the mun represented, therefore, the great idea of bitachon, of having trust in God, that the Rebbe Shalom provides. No saying lechem l'chol basar. The Rebbe Shalom gives for every living creature the ability to sustain itself. In our time, because of the advances in technology and because of the change of mindset brought about by a more affluent society. So we not only want food for today, but we want to fill our freezer as well to make sure that we have food for the future. That is a human reaction. But to a certain extent, it is a denial of faith. But anyway, so we have the idea of the mun. And then in the same parsha of the mun, the Torah tells us halachas regarding preparing food for Shabbat and for Yom Tov. The concept of melacha l'tzorech ochel nefesh, which is permitted on Yom Tov to cook, to bake, but not on Shabbat. And Shabbat is restrictive. You have to prepare everything beforehand. Al-Kain Anochi Nosein Lachem Lechem Mishnah. The Rebbe Shalom says, I give you twice as much food on Friday. On Friday night, you can store it. It will not turn rancid. It will not rot. It will not have worms. And you'll have to eat for Shabbat as well. So here we are introduced again to Shabbat. Now, all of this is before the granting of the Torah. All of this is before the Aseret HaDvarim. All of this is before it says, Zachor es Yom HaShabbat l'kadsho, or Shamor es Yom HaShabbos. All of this is before. So what kind of Shabbat did they have? You don't have the mitzvah of Shabbat yet. And therefore, it's somewhat strange that this is where the halachas should appear. He says, Sher tofu efu, or you want to bake before. Whatever you're going to cook before. All of that, you haven't laid the foundation. You didn't tell them yet Zocher es Yom HaShabbos l'kadsho, sheishes Yom Tavod v'asisa kol melachlecha, v'Shabbos lo sasa kol avoda. You didn't tell them that yet. So what are they supposed to make of this? So there's an exalted idea here that the Meforshim discuss. There is a halachic Shabbos. Excuse me 1 second. Hello? Yitzhak, honey, could you call me back in 15 minutes, please? Excuse me for the interruption, but a rabbi always has to answer the phone. So in any event, there's a halachic Shabbos. The halachic Shabbos is composed of 39 ovos malachos that we read about in the 7th parak in Masechet Shabbos, that we derive that from the Melechus HaMishkan. There's no Mishkan here yet. There are no 39 malachos here yet. There's no halachic Shabbos here. In fact, the Meforshim raised this question regarding Mora, also in this week's parsha. It says there, Shom Som Lo Choku Mishpat V'Shom Nisahu. There did the Rebbeinu Shalom establish Choku Mishpat for the Jewish people, laws, system of justice and discipline. So what were the laws that were established then? Rashi immediately comments that the Chok Mishpat, one of them was Ktsat Hilchot Shabbat. Some of the ideas of Shabbat were given to them. So the Jewish people needed an introduction. Before we get to the halachic Shabbat, we have to get to the concept of Shabbat, that there is such a thing in the world. Now Moshe introduced that to the Jewish people when they were slaves in Egypt. He came to Paro and he said, if you work them 7 days a week, you have a lower productivity. If they have a day off, at the end you'll have more, not less. And therefore they introduced the idea of Shabbat. The idea that there's Sheishes Yomim Tavod, B'Yom HaShvi Shabbos LaHashem Elokecha. The 7th day is different than the 6 days. One of the great gifts of the Jewish people to the world, among so many, is the concept of a day off, of Shabbat. Now, in our time, that has been whittled away. 24/7. Never close the stores. Never stop shopping. Never have a day of rest. I remember from my time in America that many people whom I knew that were unfortunately not Sabbath observers said that to them Saturday was the worst day of the week, because then they had the children and they had to take care and they had to drive them and they also do errands, fix the house. Saturday was the worst day of the week. Because there's no concept of Shabbat. It doesn't register in the mind of the commercially driven, greedy Western civilization. And because of that, therefore, the Ribono Shel Olam Kaviyachol, before he introduces us to the intricacies of Shabbat, then Shabbat is very, very halachically intricate. It's not easy to be strict Shomer Shabbat if one does not know the halachos, if one does not study, if one is unaware of what is involved in the Shabbat. But the Rebbeinu Shalom wanted us to have an introduction to the concept of Shabbat, that there is such a thing in the world. Once that is assimilated in our brain and in our personality, so then we can talk about the halachic Shabbat. Then we can talk about the difference between Malocha, Ochel Nefesh, not Ochel Nefesh, Malocha Tzricha Lagufa, Malocha Sheida Tzricha Lagufa, Malachas Machshavas, the 39 Malachas of the Mishkan. Then we can, all of that somehow now is going to fall into place. But if we never had a concept of Shabbat, if the whole concept of the day of rest, so to speak, is foreign to us, what are we even talking about? How do you expect that Shabbat should register in a halachic way when obviously no one knows what you're talking about? So that's why it said Shom Som Lo Chok Mishpat. There in Mora was the introduction. The Rebbeinu Shalom told them, you should know, Kinderlach, there's going to be a day of rest. How we're going to define the day of rest, that's going to come. But it's the same thing that we raise our children. Baruch Hashem, right? So when they're 3 years old, 4 years old, they have a concept of Shabbat. They know it's going to be Shabbat. They don't know the halachos of Shabbat. As of yet, they don't know you can cook on Shabbat, warm on Shabbat. They don't know that, but they have the concept already. That's part of their inner being, that there is such a day. Well, if there is such a day, then we can apply to it layer upon layer of halacha, of spirituality, song, food, everything that goes on now to make up our Shabbat, that makes it the most glorious day of the week. The day that we long for. On Sunday, we already wish it was Shabbat. And therefore we say, Yom Rishon la Shabbat, well, Shabbat is coming. It's the greatest concept in the world. It's the greatest gift that the human beings can have. And that's why it was always the measure of the Jewish people. You want to know what kind of Jew he was? He used to say, Shomer Shabbat. Okay, so then that's it. You're in the ball game. You understand what's involved. God forbid there's no Shabbat, so we see what it looks like when there's no Shabbat. See how everybody is dissatisfied. See all of the controversies, all of the difficulties. Shabbat is the great equalizer. On Shabbat, there is no rich man or poor man. Nobody's making money. Nobody's doing anything. Their entire halachas of schar Shabbat, whether or not even passively you can make money on Shabbat. How do you collect, there was a shaila, Jewish hotel keepers. How do they charge for a room on Shabbat? It's schar Shabbat. So then there's a din of havloah. We swallow it in. They're renting for more than the Shabbat. Okay, all sorts of halachic intricacies that allow, but the concept remains. No rich or poor on Shabbat. And therefore the Torah emphasized it to us. Shom som lo chol kumishpot v'shom sohu. There did the Rebbeinu Shalom give us a discipline, a gift, a set of laws. Nisohu, we usually translate Nisohu is to test. Nisayon. But the Chassidic Sforim also say that the word nes in Hebrew is a banner, a flag. That nes lagoyim, our flag, shom nisohu, there did he raise us, there did he give us a flag, there did he give us a banner, there did he give us a goal, there did he uplift us. And that is one of the blessings of Shabbat that all of us have. And that was therefore the preface to the halachic Shabbat, is this great concept of Shabbat. Concept is not enough. You can read the most beautiful books about Shabbat, that doesn't make you a shomer Shabbat. You have to get to the halachic Shabbat as well. But nevertheless, it needs an introduction. You have to open your mind to it, your heart, your spirit to it. That's what we find in this week's Parsha, both by Mora and by the Mon, why they are connected to Shabbat and to the observance of Shabbat. I want to wish you all a happy Tu B'Shvat and good health, and thank you for listening. And we'll see you again tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about Tu B'Shvat with your permission, and I thank you all for listening. Kol Tuv Selam.